Difficult people. We all know them. We love them, yet there's a wedge between that can hinder us from enjoying a truly meaningful relationship. Do we accept things as they are, or push to make inroads to bring our commonalities, our love for Jesus, to the forefront? Sometimes it's just a simple misunderstanding. Other times these misunderstandings can result in deep conflict. We say something taken out of context, or we make an assumption. Jack Haywood states that even speaking about tithing can create a wedge between visitors and the church. I've personally experienced this issue as a new visitor, and I cringe when the collection box comes at me and I feel like all eyes are on me. I prefer to have a donation at the door, and I've even seen some churches use a website for online giving that they flash on a screen while we wait for service to start. It's just subtle enough that I don't feel guilted over it. The last thing anybody wants is to condemn church members. When offering a sermon, I used to use the word you and found I was actually condemning people. While I want them to feel convicted by the Holy Spirit, if this is God's will, I certainly don't want them to feel ashamed or to make anyone else feel that way. Another issue we run into is rushing to make a decision. First, we know all things should be handled through prayer, but we get caught up in the moment, need time to process. Willimon discusses how to manage the expectations others have on us against our own time and abilities. He states that as pastors, we face normal expectations from every side. These expectations become serious when they have hidden agendas. Tom Rainier's podcast on major areas of tension every pastor experiences touches on some critical areas of concern that cause tension and conflict as well. Among them, he mentions how pastors are rarely able to say no. The tension this creates has far-reaching side effects, such as loss of time with family, people feeling left out, and church feeling like a prison to the pastor. A pastor must be able to assess whether something is critical and needs an immediate attention, or something that can be handled later. All pastors want to please their congregations. The smart pastor knows when to say, "Not right now," and does his research and comes back with prayerful and educated response. So how do we prepare to meet the needs of others while being cognizant of our own limitations? First, we must know ourselves and our limitations. Patience should be on our side. Proverbs 12, verse 18 reminds us that there is one who speaks rashly, like the thrusts of a sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. And Paul spoke to the church in Ephesus, stating, "Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear." If we have a lacking, that can be a detriment. We must be transparent, meaning if we have a difficulty in a certain area of ministry, we need to say so it can be addressed through training and edification. We can't profess to know how to handle things if we have no training in it. If we jump in, we risk speaking as a fool. We should derive our values and motivation from within and not rely on the feedback of problem people. Trying to make everyone happy will burn a pastor out quicker than anything. We should also be purposeful in how we proceed. We don't need to be loud and obnoxious to be effective. Everyone understands that pastors need to attend to things and will make accommodations when they're given the opportunity. If all else fails, we also have the option of a mediator who understands the interests of both parties and can help create alternatives that meet each party's needs. In the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verses 15 through 17, Jesus tells us, "If your brother sins, go and show him his fault in private. If he listens to you, you have won your brother. If he does not listen to you, take one or two more with you, so that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every fact may be confirmed. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. If he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be as a Gentile and a tax collector." Michelle Lazurek, in an article posted in Christianity Today entitled "Make Conflict Work for You," stated that when using a mediator, make sure the meeting is held at a neutral location, such as a coffee shop, and always meet the person face to face. This tells them that their opinion matters and you value them. In the end, there should be a peaceable agreement that can be met, and you should be doing everything in your power to have that peaceful outcome. Then make sure you follow up to make sure things are working out to the satisfaction of all concerned. Don't show favoritism, show concern. But what of those conflicts that involve the pastor? Sometimes it feels like a pastor is rushed and pushed into a corner where they feel the only option is to leave. When is enough enough? There are reasons to leave, and Willimon covers many of these, such as a pastor is not wanted or trusted anymore in the church. But the reasons to remain should outweigh any thoughts to leave. If they don't, reassessing why we've decided to stay in light of the issues may be in order. Theological differences also create conflict. And when you're advised by Paul in Colossians 3, verse 13, bearing with one another and forgiving each other, whoever has a complaint against anyone, just as the Lord forgave you, so also should you. There are conflicts that can be addressed, and there are theological disagreements that can cause damage. It's an imperative to research, study, and discuss the interpretation and adherence to any theological issue that's being used to justify a position in the church. For example, Willimon brings up a hiring issue that arose from pastor's interpretation of 1 Timothy 3. The pastor stood by his interpretation, but in retrospect believed he could have handled the issue better. Willimon suggests that great care be taken in identifying a conflict as theological. Once the issue is decided, the question of whether it is a core belief should be analyzed. In this case, it needs to be remedied quickly. Let's talk about new people in the church. This also creates conflict. Most churches want to add numbers to their flock, but few want to change how they operate to do this. The newcomer doesn't know the history of this particular church and is not tied to the traditions of those who are longtime members. The newcomer tends to be on the outside of the social sphere, as members have established networks of community already. Because I travel, I have visited many churches on the road. Some I felt like a long-lost relative, and others didn't notice me at all. Some are so outgoing that every single member will come up to introduce themselves. Regardless, there's always a getting to know you period for both members and newcomers. The pastor role is a mediator between these two, the newcomer and the members. The pastor must be able to anticipate conflicts, prepare the church to face change, and must be able to interpret needs from one side to the other. I agree with Willimon when he mentions that the church belongs to God, but we, the members, feel it is ours to take care of. So let's review. We want everyone to get along, to honor God, to love each other as themselves, and spread the message of the gospel. But we have conflicts. It's human nature. Paul had conflicts. Peter had conflicts. All the church leaders through the ages had conflicts. In fact, Jesus had conflicts that led to his death. But through it all, the purpose is the message, and that must always be the main theme, the reminder. The message found in John 13:34. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. And that should be our goal. That should be every goal for every pastor, is to have a loving, welcoming environment in their church. May you be so blessed.